Great. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Generative AI Meetup Podcast with your hosts, Mark and Shashank. Together, we run a meetup throughout all of Silicon Valley, and we have listeners from all over the world. Thank you, Tony, for listening. I appreciate you from South Korea. And we just want to share with you all the learnings from people that we get to meet in the Bay Area. So today we have a really special episode and a ton of things to talk about. So this past weekend, Shashank and I, we went to the very first ever Don't Die Summit hosted by Brian Johnson. For those that don't know, Brian Johnson's a guy who's basically trying to live forever. And at the conference, we learned a ton of cool stuff all about health and longevity, and basically how Gen AI may be able to help us live forever. So at the conference, we were able to snag an interview with the CEO of Insilico, which is an awesome company, which is combining Gen AI as well as like hardcore biomedical research. And we got an interview with their CEO, Alex Zhavoronkov, who is just a really smart guy. And they have a brand new AI model, which they're going to announce, called Presses GPT. So he's going to tell you a lot about it. But before we do that and tell you about the conference, there's a few things that we wanted to discuss today before we get to that. So before that, we were going to discuss about the brand new GPT-4o1 model that just got announced earlier today, codenamed Strawberry. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the Apple announcement. So, Shashank, what do you think about this brand new model from OpenAI?
Yeah, I think this is the most exciting thing since GPT-4o was introduced, because it seems to solve a lot of the reasoning issues and limitations of LLMs today, where they just autocomplete a string of tokens or words without actually understanding what those words actually mean. So this one is apparently able to, actually not apparently, we tested it just now, and it is actually able to count how many R's there are in strawberry.
So for reference, that's actually a big deal.
It is surprisingly hard. And the reason it's hard is because, as you may or may not know, these LLMs are really good next token predictors, or the next word predictors. They look at these massive repositories of data in the internet, a bunch of text, bunch of newspaper articles, Twitter posts, blog posts, and just kind of based on what they've already seen, predict what word might come next based on all the data that's been ingested in their neural network. So when you ask it a seemingly simple question that requires any kind of reasoning or mathematics ability, it completely fails at that, because it just goes with what it has seen in a previous similar looking patch of text. So in contrast, this model gets the answer right. And after testing it briefly, it seems like it is underneath some kind of an agent, which has a chain of thought, or like a React framework where it reasons and then acts, or breaks down the step into simpler sub-steps, solves each one of those at a time, and then combines all of those intermediate steps into a final answer.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, chain of thought is an LLM prompting technique where you basically ask the LLM to think through its thought process. And that tends to give you better responses. So it seems like they kind of just bake this into the model. Actually, as an aside, one thing that I was actually able to do in the past was, even before this GPT-4o1, man, that's a mouthful of a name. But what you could do is you could say, like, hey, ChatGPT, write a program to tell how many R's are in the word strawberry, and then run the program and then tell me how many R's are in strawberry. And then if you did that, it would actually get the correct answer. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of a way to sort of prompt it to do like I guess you could call it like chain of thought, but it's not quite chain of thought because it's like it would like run the program, realize the answer was different than it thought, and then it would correct itself. So that works. But you have to do a lot of like extra prompting technique to do this. This seems like it's kind of like making it so you don't need to be a prompt wizard. It's just like does it for you, which makes it, I think, like a lot smarter in general, or like maybe like more user friendly, I guess you could say, because it seems like, as far as I can tell, like the model isn't like way better. It's just like almost like getting more capability out of the same model.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think they've significantly improved the performance of whatever base underlying model that is powering this O1 model. But instead, what they've done is give it this agentic behavior, this ability to reason in multiple steps and then come up with a more cohesive answer. So in general, it seems like OpenAI went from being a research organization or like a foundational model provider to incorporating all of the tools and add-ons that other people have built on top of OpenAI and integrate it into their consumer product, which is ChatGPT, because they've added the ability to browse the web, which was, something that Microsoft was doing with Edge and Google is doing. And there were other plugins that built on top of ChatGPT, but you had to use like Llama Index and all these frameworks that made it really complicated and only really allowed developers to build agents and other complicated applications on top of LLMs. Now, OpenAI seems to just be baking all this into their consumer product.
Yeah, so they're just kind of making it easier for everybody to use their LLM, which is cool. I applaud that.
It's amazing. But as a side effect, their regular consumer version can go from solving a reported 13% of math Olympiad problems to a record 83%, which is like in the 89th percentile of competitors, which is really cool.
How hard are math Olympiad problems? I don't know, because I vaguely remember when I was like in high school or something like that, and I think it was like just the smart kids who try to solve the math Olympiad.
Depends on what the curve is and what it is the 90th percentile, so it's better than 90% of people.
I mean, that seems pretty good, but it's like, I don't even think most people like would even enter the math Olympiad. It's just like the people who are like really into math who are going to even attempt the math Olympiad. So I feel like to say like, oh, we're solving 90% of math Olympiad problems, it's kind of like saying like, oh, like we're smarter than 90% of the nerds.
Yeah.
In a certain sense, right? Because it's like, it's not like the regular person isn't taking the math Olympiad. It's only like the people who like are really, really into math who are taking the math Olympiad. Not to say like people who do the math Olympiad are nerds, but like you get my point.
I do. So to clarify, it says it's better or it's reached the 89th percentile in code forces competitions, whatever that means. So out of some small subset of really smart people who are attempting this technical challenge, it's reached the 89th percentile.
I mean, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So in other completely unrelated news, OpenAI is raising money. So apparently they are raising money at a $150 billion valuation. I don't know. It's like, it seems to me like it makes you feel like maybe they don't need. I don't know how to articulate this, but if they were super profitable, they wouldn't need to raise money. Mm-hmm. And it seems like they must be running out of money, therefore they need to raise more. So both that makes me, I don't know, a little bit bullish and then also a little bit bearish at the same time. Like bullish insofar that like, hey, like OpenAI can raise money at $150 billion valuation even without a lot of money. But then it's kind of bearish at the same time because like, man, that really feels a little bit overvalued.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the other explanation would be that they need a lot of money to do some massive batch of training or build custom chips or get into a completely new field like robotics and pour that heavy investment up front to work on a cool new project. So, yeah, I mean, I think you might be right. I think it's probably a combination of a lot of things. I don't know if they're making as much money with their subscription model as they need to keep training these models, or at least train the next generation of models.
Yeah, I actually just canceled my subscription. I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago to OpenAI.
Why?
Great question. So I think I've mentioned Kagi in the past, like KAGI.com. It's a competitor to Google search. And they have their Kagi Assistant. So the Kagi Assistant is really cool. What it gives you is for $25 a month, you get access to unlimited searches with Kagi. But in addition to that, so Kagi by itself is $10 a month. But they also give you the assistant. So the assistant will be able to act as kind of like, it's similar to like Gemini in Google, where it'll help you make sense of the search results. So you could go and like summarize web pages. It can answer questions about like a page in a search result, but it also gives you complete access to GPT, like ChatGPT, like all the models, like GPT-4o, GPT-4, the GPT-4o mini, Gemini, the Gemini advanced model, all the Anthropic models. So it gives you like Anthropic Claude 3.5, Sonnet, the Opus model, Haiku, and the Mistral model. So like you get access to Mistral Large. So all of those would be $80 a month if you subscribe to them separately, because Gemini is $20, OpenAI is $20, Anthropic is $20, and Mistral I think is also $20 if you want to subscribe to it. But this, for $25, you get all four plus paid search. So I'm just using that instead.
How does that handle like persistent chat threads? Because one of the big reasons why I still use ChatGPT today, as opposed to some of these other aggregators or platforms that utilize other LLMs, is because of the UX. I open up ChatGPT, open up like a previous chat thread that I've had about a specific topic. Let's say like I have one for nutrition, fitness. I have one for work. I have one for mental health. I have one for planning my day, etc. So having that simplified UX and a memory is pretty useful for me.
Yeah, so I believe it does keep some chat history, so I could go back to that if I wanted to. But to be fair, the UI or the UX isn't quite as good. So one thing that I've noticed, so Kagi, if you're listening, I've noticed that when I put in a longer prompt, sometimes the Kagi UI will just hang for a little bit. So sometimes I'm using it for like programming, and I'll put in like a large chunk of code. And in that chunk of code, Kagi might just hang while it processes. I don't exactly know what it's doing. I think it's like trying to do something smart, but a little bit too smart. And I'll just have to wait for maybe a good like 5 seconds or something like that before I'm able to hit the enter button and get the prompt. It's not as ideal. I think there's some things like, now I'm missing out on the GPT store. Kagi can't generate images. Anthropic, they have the, what is it called? Like the snippets, where you could get like the code results and it can run the code as well. Like I can't do that in Kagi either. But, it gives me access to all four, and it's saving me a little bit of money. So I think I was on the family plan with Kagi. So I was paying $14 a month before for like me and my wife. We were both paying like $7 each. So we were 14, plus we were paying $20 for the ChatGPT subscription. So that we were 34. Now we're saving $9 a month down to 25. So it's like not big money, but still I was thinking like, I get access to all the models, because also like I was finding myself using the Anthropic model more and more, because I was trying to, do some programming and some stuff. And like, I felt like ChatGPT was like getting pretty tripped up, but the Anthropic models was actually giving me better results for my programming. So I was like, all right, well, I might as well just use Kagi for this. So we'll give it like a month, see how it is. Like, maybe I'll downgrade and go back to get myself a ChatGPT subscription. But for now, I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I was considering something similar when I got the Perplexity subscription. So I have a year of Perplexity's subscription, which is a competitor to Google Search. It's a search engine supercharged with AI, and it uses LLMs to search the web, summarize the search results, give you citations for the answer that it condenses and summarizes, and there's like a Copilot too. So if you have a complex enough query, it like searches and reasons in multiple steps, and they also allow, similar to Kagi, they allow you to toggle between multiple different LLMs from different providers, and it actually seemed really cool, but it has a little bit more latency, obviously, because it uses the web versus ChatGPT, which doesn't need to all the time. And the UX, so I stuck with ChatGPT. And I mean, I use Gemini too. I have a free subscription through work because I work at Google, so I use that with my corporate account and ChatGPT with my personal account. And I I also have Perplexity, not to mention the odd other service that I use every now and then, but don't pay for. So I think both of us, if I have to kind of assess, are at the bleeding edge of these technologies and are early adopters. I would say for most people, just sticking with one consumer-facing product, either ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, would be the best way to go because of the UX, the simplicity, and maintaining like a chat history and all the other added bonuses like image generation that are baked into these platforms, which unfortunately you don't get with these aggregators or apps built on top of these LLMs.
That's true. But if you ask me, like, what with my mom, I would say, like, you should just use the free version of ChatGPT, right? Because it's like, it's good enough.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not even good enough. It's fantastic. Yeah. So I think that, like, we're just paying for that little bit extra, but like you can get 80% of the value for free, and it's still pretty darn good.
Yeah.
So anyways, Shashank, what do you think about this new Apple announcement? New iPhones, that's cool.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I was just moderately whelmed. It wasn't that exciting. I honestly couldn't pick any part of the announcement and say, okay, this is really cool. The one thing that stood out was the camera shutter, semi-touch and semi-physical button. They added a new button after 15 years or something, after taking away buttons and controls for so many years. But I guess for the sake of this podcast, the relevant pieces of information are the fact that these devices have much more capable chips, which I assume is to power the next generation of local generative AI models, their local LLMs, to do, emoji generation, to generate text, summarize, and do other kinds of AI-related features on device. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I think Apple's bringing more computing to the edge. So when I say the edge, I just mean like on the device as opposed to like hitting a server somewhere. So that's cool.
What are the benefits of that?
Well, I think that there's a few benefits that you could get to like edge computing in general, like running local on a device. So I think that the biggest, there's two big ones. Number one would be privacy. So it's like if you can run things locally on your device and you don't have to hit a server, well then now you don't have to tell Apple or OpenAI or whoever like your personal information. Now, I'm sure they're not like looking, it's not like there's like some guy just like, oh, what does Shashank do here? It's like, tell me more. It's not like they're looking at your chat history. But I'm sure they're not. But the thing is like they could. Like maybe you'd like run through some extra things and then like, one thing leads to another and then like there's data breach and then like your chat history out there. If that happens, you're out of luck. I'm not saying like any of these companies are doing that.
Statistically, these large mega corporations like Apple, Google, Amazon, Meta, etc., are very, very unlikely to get a data breach. It's mostly smaller companies, like, I don't know, Ticketmaster or Eventbrite or Instacart that may have data breaches.
We're not saying that those companies specifically have data breaches. We're just saying that, like, in general, like...
I think they...
Oh, did they have data breaches?
Off the top of my head, I might be wrong, but... let's go with what you said.
Yeah. So anyways, allegedly they may have had a data breach. I have no idea. So don't sue us, Ticketmaster, Eventbrite, and Instacart. Yeah. So don't sue us. We don't know. We don't know anything about that. It hasn't been published. I'm not sure. But anyways, like the point is that like when it comes to like privacy, if you could do it on the device and you never have to hit a server, you just eliminate that threat vector, right? So it's like now, like you don't have to worry about them securing their servers. You don't have to worry about like some like a rogue engineer looking at your chat history. Like it's just on the device. It's all there. It's great. And since it doesn't have to hit a server, the other benefit is it's fast. So it's like you can get a response immediately. And then also like it starts becoming lower cost as well, right? Because like now it's like you have higher privacy, you have faster speed, and then because you have this speed, you start opening up like use cases that you wouldn't have been able to do before. So for example, like maybe you could use, for example, generative AI to do a personal search engine on your phone, right? Or like some sort of personal RAG. So like RAG, like as you guys know, like retrieval augmented generation, just like say like, hey, like I want to go search the documents that I have and then give some sort of summary response back. So like that's the type of thing that I could do where like, would it be feasible with like calling OpenAI's API or something? Yeah, maybe. But like now I could do that all on my own, like personal documents. Like maybe there's some things you don't want hitting the server, right? Like maybe it's like I have my bank account details, or like health records, or social security numbers, all that stuff. Like now I can go and just do that all locally. And that's pretty darn cool if you ask me. Now, the downside of doing this is like, well, now if it all runs locally on an iPhone, it's like, well, a lot of these models are running on like really, really expensive GPUs and high quality hardware. So it's like the quality may go down a little bit, but it's like, what do you want? You can't have everything. You can't have like the highest quality and also be like super private and secure, and fast and cheap. It's like, you gotta give somewhere. So it's like, you're going to sacrifice a little on quality, but like the quality is still not that bad. It's still pretty good and it's only getting better every day.
Yeah, the part about cost also makes sense because right now all of these companies, OpenAI raising like $150 billion or raising $6 billion at like $150 billion valuation. It's raising a lot of money because it costs a lot of money to train these models, deploy them, and keep serving them to users for free. So if you don't need to do that, you can run for free locally, albeit with a smaller model.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. And I think Apple's really kind of like leading the charge on that. I know there's like a few other companies, like Google's doing some stuff.
Google's been like shoving AI in people's faces for like 2 years.
Well, I mean, like, sure. But like, I think the thing is like, I agree with you, but like Google has like a much smaller like market share than the iPhone.
It's fair.
So it's like, I mean, like
in mobile devices, yes.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, like, I guess you could argue that like Google is like leading the charge, but like Apple's like bringing everyone along with them.
Yeah, that's a good point. But this new Apple Intelligence feature, which still hasn't launched.
Good point.
To be clear, even if you buy the new iPhone 16 or 16 Pro, it's not going to work today. It's TBD when it's going to be available. And it's not going to be available for all the older models of iPhones that people already have. So you're going to have to upgrade to the newer models, unless if you have the iPhone 15 Pro with the previous Pro chip. So it is still a relatively small segment of users who are looking to upgrade. Maybe this gives them a good enough reason to upgrade.
Well, actually, now that you mention it, I don't know. Like, I don't know how I feel about. I mean, I guess it's okay that Apple is going to announce like a phone with the features that aren't there yet. But I don't think that like any of our listeners should just like go rush out to buy an iPhone with something that has a promise of being there. So like, Apple says the feature's going to be really good. I mean, knowing Apple's track record, it probably will be really good. Yeah. But like at the same time, it's like until like it's been in the hands of reviewers and then we know it's really good, like this is like a feature that like will most likely ship soon, but like we don't actually know like how good it'll be. Like, I mean, if the feature was really, really good and ready, they would have shipped it yesterday, right? But they didn't. And the fact that it only will run on the highest end chips makes me think that like, well, maybe it's going to be using a lot of device power. So like, I don't know, like they said that they're going to have a new battery in these iPhones. Like, is using these Gen AI features, is it going to like drain the battery life? Is it going to be like high latency? Like, am I going to be able to use the phone normally? Like, I don't know. Like, I hope it's going to be really good, but like until like it's actually in the hands of the reviewers, like we don't know. And that's the thing. So it's like, I appreciate like Apple like going out and like announcing this. I think they announced this like all these new AI features, like what was it, like in WWDC? It was like a few months ago, right? Yeah. And like it's still not here yet. So it's like all the people who like went and bought the phone hoping to get these features, and then now they're not getting it except in like the newest phones. It's like, I don't know. It's like it kind of rose me the wrong way a little bit.
Yeah, in Apple's defense, I think the hardware is going to be solid. The reported benchmarks with like, let's see, some double-digit percentage better CPU, GPU. Apparently this is a bad comparison. It's 30% faster CPU than the last generation of iPhones. The GPU is 40% compared to last generation. The battery is supposed to be physically bigger too, and they've done a bunch of optimizations to make sure it runs faster. So all of those things will result in a much more capable iPhone that should hopefully be able to run these models, because like Google's able to run some of their smaller models on device, and that's been working fine. And I think we kind of have a rough idea of what these features will look like, because we have local LLMs running maybe like not on a phone, but on some of these laptops. And we've been testing them out ourselves for a while. So we can extrapolate what the performance of some of those will be. And given some of the performance benchmarks of the new next-gen iPhones, I feel like they're very capable of running these text models, some simple image generation models. And the part that they may struggle to get right is the UX. Because like the key differentiator of Apple Intelligence is the fact that it is running on your iPhone on device and able to tap into all of the different apps that are running on your phone. So look at your calendar, look at your email, of course, with privacy in mind, running locally. And as soon as you have a new piece of mail or message come in, it's able to look at everything else that already exists on your phone and like do something more meaningful, more intelligent. Maybe if someone says, "Oh, I'm going to be late for dinner tonight," then it's going to, shoot a text to the restaurant or something, ask them to push the reservation later, or send a note to your mom telling them that, take care of the kids a little longer because we're going to be late. And so doing all of those things cohesively, I think to build a good story around that for a good user experience, that's going to be the challenge, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll see. Time will tell, I guess, in the next, I don't exactly know what's coming out, the next few months probably, I hope. At some point in the future,
do you find out? Oh, sorry. Do you have the next generation iPhone?
No, I have an iPhone 13.
13.
Yeah.
That is never going to get any of the Apple Intelligence features.
Unfortunately not. So, oh well, such is life. The phone's still working okay, so that's great. I'm sure. We'll keep using it. So, yeah. Now, I guess it's time to talk about the Don't Die Summit. So, yeah, that was a pretty fun event.
That was really interesting.
Yeah.
That was the first health, wellness, longevity-related conference that I've been to. I wasn't sure what to expect, but that was interesting.
Yeah. So, for reference, Shashank and I, this past Sunday, so what was that? Today's Thursday, so 5 days ago. What's today's date? I forget. I don't have my...
September 12th.
September 12th. So whatever it was, September 8th, September 9th, something like that. We drove from the South Bay all the way to San Francisco.
At 6 a.m.
I picked up Shashank at his house at 6 a.m. And he was up kind of late the night before dancing. And he got enough sleep to go wake up. And we drove together to the Don't Die Summit, which is fantastic. It was so much fun. So it was this conference at Pier 35 in San Francisco. So for those who've never been to San Francisco, Pier 35 is right along the San Francisco Bay. And you can basically just like right along the water, and it's super beautiful. Like like this whole area. It was like a kind of a sunny day. It was pretty nice. And as we were walking in, we arrived at Pier 35. I remember at 7:03 a.m. I remember because I was worried we were a couple minutes late because they were starting they were going to have a Don't Die rave. So, as an aside, like, why do I want to, like, if I'm going to, like, dance and, like, party and, like, rave, like, why do I want to do that at, like, 2 a.m. or, like, midnight? Like, that's going to completely mess up your sleep quality. It's like, let's do it in the morning. Like, when we're fresh, we're feeling good. You can get, like, your heart rate pumping. It's like a morning workout, kind of. It's, like, so much energy, so much fun. Like, I, for one, am a massive fan of the morning rave. Like, let's do that. That's a hill I will die on. 7 a.m. of a rave is much better than midnight. Because
for the record, I'm not with this, but continue.
Because at midnight, I'm tired. But at 7 a.m., I am ready to go. So with that being said, we went in and we saw Brian Johnson, who is this guy who... it was the guy who started, I think it was Braintree, and then who later got bought out by Venmo.
Braintree bought Venmo.
Oh, was that what it was?
He acquired Venmo and then sold it to, PayPal.
Okay. So, anyways, he is now super rich. I think he did that deal, was like
Close to $1 billion.
Hundreds of millions for sure, or over 100 million. And
close to $1 billion.
Was it really close to $1 billion?
Yeah.
Wow. So anyways, he's doing okay. And now he's spending all of his time just like trying to not die and really help spread the word on longevity and just like a good, solid, quality life. So we saw him going in, got to chat with him like really briefly. Also talked to his like dad and son, both like great people. And we met a lot of really cool people at the conference. So I don't know, Shashank, what were some of like your takeaways from the conference?
Yeah. So like I said, I didn't know what to expect. This was the first time experiencing something like this. And again, neither of us has a background in biology, let alone biotechnology and the cutting edge of, all of these multi-omic studies of like proteomics and genomics and all the other omics that deal with different parts of human physiology.
Wait, sorry, what's an omic?
From my understanding, it is like it's a thing that it's a suffix that represents part of human or biological information. So proteomics is the study of proteins. Genomics is the study of genes. And there's a bunch of other omics that study epigenetics, which is like the environmental factors to your DNA, the effects on RNA, which are like the gene expressions, and a couple other items. I think there are like 5 or 6 of them in total.
Huh.
So the different things that affect human biology, and not just human biology, just all of life. So it was definitely a lot of information to ingest, But to kind of summarize, I think we talked about this a little bit. The conference, I think, left us both, maybe I can talk for myself, left me a little pessimistic about the current state of research and supplements and other quick hacks to a longer, healthier life. It seems like there really is nothing significantly better than focusing on the basics, getting a good night's sleep, focusing on healthy diet, nutrition, getting a lot of exercise, and building good social connections that allow you to maintain a healthy mental balance. So, we saw everything from the speaker that's we're gonna plug in soon, the interview with Alex Zhavoronkov. And how they use cutting edge deep learning and apply that to the field of biology and pharmacology to come up with drugs and target them for curing specific ailments and diseases. But we also saw what was it? Companies selling thousands of dollars worth of little 5 milliliters tubes filled with human umbilical cord extract to apparently make your skin glow and make you look more younger. So there was like a wide range of speakers from what I consider deep science and researchers pushing the field forward to ostensibly like money-making schemes trying to take advantage of the rich who don't really know what the difference is between these different products. There was a speaker on, who had an extensive background on psychedelics. It was fascinating to talk with him.
That was a cool speech, actually. Yeah,
to understand the impact of microdosing, because what are drugs? We arbitrarily classify a couple of these substances as Schedule 1 restricted substances, and it's kind of arbitrary because on the other hand, we have alcohol, which is legal to buy, which is far more damaging to your body, mind, and society at large compared to stuff like MDMA or ketamine, which might get a bad rep, but has been shown to have a lot of benefits for therapy and getting over traumatic events and curing PTSD in a controlled setting, of course. And so, yeah, it was a wide range of speakers. Had a lot of information, still kind of going back and trying to understand what we learned, trying to digest all this information. There were a lot of vendors, which were really insightful. We got to talk to these CEOs, founders, and researchers at these amazing companies and learn a lot about hair regrowth, all the different techniques from vasodilators that improve blood flow through your head to things that block DHT, which causes hair loss, to laser caps and microneedling to create punctures in your skin to promote skin regrowth, to many serums and so many different pieces of information.
Yeah, so one thing that I thought was really cool, that was a takeaway for me. Now, I think Shashank already knew this because, like, Shashank's just like a guy who's like really interested in a lot of these things, especially for like hair growth. But one thing that I
have a history of hair loss in my family, so it's something that I've been thinking about a lot.
Yeah. So anyways, like Shashank has been, doing some research and like learning, but like there's some stuff that like I had no idea. But like there is something that you guys can do for free, that zero money, like zero cost health intervention. Now, don't listen to us. We're not doctors, but this is really cool. So apparently a lot of these like hair loss treatments, what they do is they put increased blood flow to the top of your head. So like if you have increased blood flow to your hair or like your head, you're going to get like thicker, more luxurious hair that's less likely to fall out and just like overall better quality hair. So like there's this thing called like midoxanil, which like goes and increases blood flow to your head. Like Shashank, you mentioned microneedling, which is where you take like little tiny like needles and you like poke into your head, and then like it makes like thicker skin, and then like because of that you can get like stronger skin, and then like by extension stronger hair, and then also like you can use like little needles or like holes in your head that you just like put in there, and then you can like if you can put like some sort of like hair growth product, so you could put like midoxanil, which is like the thing that I mentioned before. But like that's all great, but you don't have to do any of that. The only thing you have to do is just like when you're gonna wash your hair in the shower, just like scrub really hard. Just like use your fingers, get in there, and then just like really like get in there, if you know what I'm saying. Just like really like scrub the top of your head like hard, like not like so hard that your like hair falls out, but like like scrub it like harder than you normally would. I've been doing that for like the past couple days, and I felt like my hair has like never been better. I was like, man, I didn't use shampoo. I just like scrubbed it, and I think they call it like a hot water shower or something, like a hot water shampoo. You just like scrub it, and like it increased the blood flow to my head. Like I woke up the next day, I was like, my hair looks fantastic. So yeah, guys, it does wonders. Just like you're in the shower, just like really like apply that pressure to your head, and like it will help you get like much fuller hair. Now,
I gotta interject right there. So this is a sample size of N of 1 on his Mark's unique genetics and everything. But no matter what, you should not be aggressive on any part of your body. I don't think you should use your fingernails or scratch anything or rub too aggressively. But like a massage, I think, does improve blood flow and not.
Yeah. You don't want to like bleed. Okay, like, not fingernails. Yeah, like Shashank said it better. Like a massage, like massage the top of your head. Like I even got like one of those like things, like a little comb, like a shower comb, where it's kind of like silicone. It's got like little silicone, like little nubs coming out of it. So I could use that to apply some additional pressure to the scalp. And I did that, and I feel like my hair looked like pretty good. So yeah, no bleeding. It didn't hurt. Just like, a little extra pressure just to stimulate the blood flow a little bit.
Yeah. And bringing this back to the theme of the podcast and our meetup, I think one of the cool things that I noticed in general for all of these vendors and speakers is the fact that they're just bringing more data and analytics to all of these data points that give us an insight into how these different remedies are affecting us. So with hair loss, no one can really tell by looking, is this treatment significantly working? Like 10, 20% is very difficult to track. Also, like the duration of efficacy is really long because hair has to go through these different cycles of growth where it's in like a resting phase, and then it has to fall out, and then you create a new follicle that starts growing from the base of your skin and then slowly emerges. So like these things are really hard to track. And one company, I forget the exact name, maybe I can add it in the show notes later. They take regular pictures of your skull, which I'm sure dermatologists and in clinic hair doctors have been doing for a while. But they're bringing this to like an at-home kind of a service coming soon. But the ability to take pictures of your hair, different patches of it, identify how many hair follicles per unit area you have, what is the hair density, what is the hair thickness, and then chart that over time and figure out what different remedies are doing to improve these different data points. That's really the way to go. I think traditional remedies of just like, feel it out. If it feels good, then it's great. Keep doing it. I don't think we're good judges of these kinds of minute details that the human brain isn't very good at identifying. And along similar lines, I think we saw really cool companies that bring AI to understand your genome. So I took a 23andMe test a long time ago, but apparently the 23andMe test only sequences maybe like 1% of your genome, whereas some of these new companies that have come out, mostly because of the advances in gene sequencing, have been able to sequence maybe like 99.9% of the genome or something, or close to 100%. And they're applying a lot of big data using large amounts of other people's existing ailments and kind of classify or group different gene segments together and give you more insights about what you are more at risk for. So we tried signing up for one of those new services, and I guess we'll find out in a few weeks what Mark and I are predisposed to, and maybe share that with the listeners. Maybe
depends on like what it is, but yeah, I mean, I'm open. I'm open to share it. Yeah, we paid to get our entire genome sequenced, so we'll give them a plug. Nucleus, we use them. I don't know like if they're like necessarily better than anybody else, but they gave us I think like 10% off or something for signing up at the conference. So I had always wanted my whole genome sequenced. I mean, the Human Genome Project cost I think over $1 billion and took like 20 years. So now that we can get that for $400, that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
So anyways, yeah, now to the main interview, because we are running out of time. But Yeah, so a little bit of background on like what we're going to be talking about in the interview. So this company, Insilico, they do a lot of like deep science and are kind of on the cutting edge of what it comes to like health and longevity and coming out with new medicine. So for reference, like when we watched the talk, their CEO Alex, he mentioned that these GLP-1 inhibitors, which is like Ozempic. It's like
GLP-1 agonists. They actually enable...
Oh, my bad. Not inhibitors, but the agonists.
Yeah.
So it's like, these GLP-1 things, he was mentioning like, oh yeah, that's kind of like old tech. Like that was like 20 years ago. Like that was like 90s, 2000s, right? And like, these kind of things, they just kind of like came on the market like really recently where like it's kind of taking the world by storm. And I think I never heard of Ozempic wasn't until like a year or two ago, right? And for him, that's like really old technology because it's like, it takes a long time to like kind of go through the drug approval process and all that stuff, right? So it's like a lot of effort. So like if he says that like, hey, that's like old technology, it's like these guys are working on like the bleeding edge. Like if anybody's going to figure out how to like make humans live forever, like Alex would be on my list. He was a really smart guy to talk to. So I like, you guys are in for a treat to listen to the interview. And for reference, sorry, like it was at the conference, so maybe a little bit loud. So the audio quality isn't the best. So bear with us there. But yeah, I think like what Alex has to say is really cool. But like what we're specifically going to be talking about is they have this new AI model called Precious GPT. So Precious GPT is an AI model. It's not like your regular chatbot model. It's not a chatbot. It's a model that is trained on like medical stuff, like specifically medical stuff. So like maybe like it'll be like a protein sequences or like DNA methylation patterns or I don't know, Shashank, what else is it trained on?
Apparently it can take a picture of a dog and predict its accurate age. So it's a good age predictor across all the species, which is crazy.
Yeah. And it like I'm not smart enough to tell you exactly all the details about it. Like Alex is going to mention it in the interview. But it does a lot of cool stuff. And I think that like you would be able to use this model if you want to actually like build something health related. You might have to do a little digging. Like you might have to like go teach yourself a little bit. Alex in the interview, he mentioned that you want to know about like cellular pathways. I think that's what it's called, cellular pathways, where like, it's like, oh, like this thing happens in the body, which causes this cascade of events, which causes this, right? So it's like, oh, like I take like vitamin D and then that, does something and then does something else and then does something else. And then it's like, oh, well, then it makes you live longer, right? But it's like, this causes this, which causes this. So it's like, a lot of that stuff is like stuff that you need to be able to learn about. And this GPT model will be able to help you learn about that and then to make like accurate predictions because it's trained on a bunch of medical knowledge. So yeah, I don't know anything else that you want to like mention about the model before we get into the interview.
No, I think that was a good summary. I mean, again, neither of us are experts in biology, so a lot of it went over my head, but it was fascinating to listen to him. And Insilico, his company, uses AI in every step of the way. And we only touched the surface of what they're doing. They also mentioned they use agents with like agentic behavior to solve a lot of the common issues that startups have to run a business. But yeah, the big highlight was Precious GPT. And for context, this is like my precious from Lord of the Rings, where Smeagol is trying to find this one ring, which is supposed to be a unifier and control all the different rings of power. So their tagline is like one model to guide them, one model to find all the targets, one model to align them, and in the depth of data, bind them. Precious GPT.
Whoa. Okay. So perfect. So with that, we're gonna sign off. We're gonna transition over to the interview, and then that'll be it for the podcast today. So stick around for that. I think the interview is like maybe 15 minutes. I think you'll get a lot of value out of that. But until next time, enjoy. So anyways, Alex, we wanted to just thank you so much. So for reference, we're at the Don't Die Summit in San Francisco right now. And you just gave an amazing talk about how AI will help with longevity in the future. And you mentioned that there is a new model that you are creating called Precious 3 GPT. Would you be able to describe that really quickly?
So sure. The Precious series of models were inspired originally by Gato from DeepMind. So the idea is to not just train a transformer to do text to image or do basic reasoning in text. The idea is to take multiple data types and train the transformer-based model. We also have a diffusion-based model to perform multiple tasks on multiple biological data types. So it achieves multimodal reasoning within multiple data types. And the data types we work with, they are incomprehensible to a human brain, right? So unless you spent years in genomics research, and even then, you are not going to think ATGC, right? Or protein language. And what we do, we tokenize several data types separately. So methylation, transcriptomics, proteomics, and also text. Methylation, those are the small kind of plugs that sit on your DNA and regulate gene expression. And there are like hundreds of thousands of them all over your DNA. Sometimes they sit pretty much randomly. Sometimes they sit within the known genes and regulate their expression. And of course, we also train on gene expression, right? So that's those are the sequences of nucleotides that you can sequence within a cell, and they are usually present in a cell at in different quantities, right? So you can quantify them. And we, of course, train on basic genomic sequencing, right, from where you get that encodes the genes that you can capture through RNA. And we also have proteins. Proteins are the product of RNA. So we've got cellular machinery that reads RNA and turns it into proteins. So this is the kind of the ultimate machinery that performs useful work in the cells. So we take all of those data types that were previously disconnected, tokenize them separately, and train a multimodal transformer to comprehend those data types and reason within those data types. So usually those data types are annotated with age. So age is one universal feature that everything has, right? So unless you go like quantum, everything will have age. So it means that whether you're a mouse or a monkey or a human, you will have age. And we take those data types, methylation, transcriptomics, proteomics, from different tissues, annotated with age, and of course with different other metadata from different animals. So mouse, rat, monkey, and human, so mammals, and train the model to perform multiple tasks. So some of the tasks are predict age. So if it cannot predict age using a specific data type, it doesn't work, right? So you need to achieve some reasonable mean absolute error for age prediction. You might not always go over in accuracy compared to state-of-art models, to, let's say, aging clocks, but that's not the reason why you get this model, right? It's actually for multimodality and multi-capabilities, and also multi-omics capabilities, right? So imagine that you can predict age with transcriptomic data type, with methylation data type separately or together with one model. You don't need to have different models for that. So the first test is always age prediction. The second test is whether you can identify, let's say, a useful protein target, so some protein that is driving the disease, or also is implicated in a specific biological process related to aging. And the model can do that, and we've done that experimentally. Also, this model is capable of generating the transcriptional and methylation response to a specific drug. So you say, well, I want to now generate a transcriptomic profile, so the profile of gene expression at any point in time in a specific tissue, in a specific animal, in response to, let's say, aspirin. So let's give aspirin to those cells at specific dose, wait for a little bit, and then see how it changes the gene expression profile. So this model is capable of doing that. And you can actually go and explore what else this model can do. It can perform multiple tasks. It's available currently on Archive. It's available on the preprint server. It's available on Discord, and it's available on Hugging Face. So it's instructional, so you can kind of hook it up to ChatGPT and instruct it through that, or you can instruct it directly through a command line, or play with it on Discord. Some folks already developed applications based on this model, so you can build a basic age predictor. But my dream is to have folks develop applications that try to understand life itself, right? So ask much more complex questions, and then we can validate. So my team is also working on that.
That's awesome. I had two questions. One is, AlphaFold 3, DeepMind's, poster child for scientific research, has been really amazing at protein folding, and it's shown to have emergent properties by being able to predict some chemical reactions or physics simulations. So do you foresee some emergent properties of this model, the Precious GPT that you built, in help you?
Yeah, so it solves different problems. So AlphaFold, first of all, I want to say it's, of course, an amazing breakthrough. It is great fundamental discovery. However, when it comes to drug discovery, it's actually a small, tiny piece of the puzzle. And so far, you have not heard about maybe drugs out of AlphaFold, right? So not a single one, right? Even though it's been out there since 2018, of course, it's getting improved. It's getting a lot of media attention. A lot of people use it for basic research. So now kind of labs that don't have the resources to perform the actual experiments and do crystallography, they can use AlphaFold, and with whatever level of quality they're working with and they're achieving with AlphaFold, they can now publish a paper. So it makes their research cheaper, but at the same time, any imperfections in AlphaFold proteins will also propagate into scientific literature. Most people haven't thought about that, right? Again, huge respect, right? I just want this technology to be used more for drug discovery. And my team in 2020 decided to use AlphaFold to try and do this experiment. And we published a paper showing in 2022, I think, toward the end of 2022, beginning of 2023. We showed that we can use AlphaFold for a target that doesn't have protein structure, and we can derive a hit molecule out of AlphaFold. But again, for drug discovery, the applications are actually very limited, unless you are going to try and simulate the universe somehow. But then you probably need much more complex machinery than AlphaFold. But it's useful. What Precious 3 GPT does, it tries to help you to understand basic biology, right? So the question that is trying to answer, the most important one, is what protein targets are driving disease, and what protein targets are driving aging, and what protein targets are driving both. So it's kind of way should come way before AlphaFold, right? So after you've identified the target, you can do folding and see if it helps you in some way. But the idea is here to try to understand basic biology. In the ideal world, you would be able to develop a multimodal system that would also do folding at the same time, and allow you for many more tricks, including chemistry. So if we had more resources and I could just play around without commercial accountability, I probably would go that route. But currently, we have to work in the environment where the funding is very scarce, and my ultimate job is to get drugs on the market. Drugs through human clinical trials, and now I have 9. So far, I don't think any other company has that many IND-enabling events as we had from scratch. So I can spend very little effort and resources on these kind of problems. That's why I'm open sourcing. That's why I need you guys to get the word out and for other people to have a go at it. And also at this conference, and by the way, thanks to Brian Johnson for doing this. He kind of inspired a lot of people to think about how not to die. I just hope that people go way beyond, diet, exercise, sleep. And many people are approaching us saying that, look, Alex, we want to work for your company. We want to transition from AI to biotech, but you cannot do that without, it's kind of a chicken and egg problem. So if you have Precious 3 GPT and if you are a really good user and demonstrate your capabilities, you are a good hiring material, not only for us, but for other people as well. So good place to start.
Okay, that's fantastic. And I think that's pretty much all that we had time for. But one thing that I wanted to ask you is, let's imagine there's somebody who knows a lot about AI, but they don't know much about the medical field, but they want to see how they can get involved. What do you think a decent starter project would be that isn't something that hasn't been solved before? Can you think of any sort of a project that somebody who knows a lot about AI, but that doesn't know a lot about medical, and if they maybe need to learn a little bit about medical science, whatnot, where they could get started on that?
Well, that's exactly why we developed those life models, Precious 3 GPT, right? So you just take it from Hugging Face and try to make it better. So make it better one. Doesn't require too much computational resources. Usually you would have access to the cloud. And for a few $1,000, you can train a better one. So just try to do a better one. That will open all doors. That will train you on multiple data types that you haven't thought about, right? So when I was transitioning from AI to bio, I didn't know what central dogma was. I didn't know that DNA makes RNA, RNA makes protein. There is splicing in between. There's cellular machinery that allows you to do that. There are biological pathways, networks. I was not privileged to that information. To learn that information, and I didn't have any really good tutorials. But if I had a practical problem that is presented by Precious 3 GPT, so basically you can play around with it, that allows you to go to ChatGPT, ask those questions like, what the hell is transcriptomics, right? Why this data type is important? How is it connected to methylation? How is it connected to genomic data? How is it different in different species? How is it similar? How is it similar in disease? In 4 hours, you basically have basic training knowledge to go and play around with the model. You improve the model, you put the tool online, bingo, you might actually make a name for yourself. So make a name for yourself on small things, promote it, explain to other people, participate in working groups, take a Coursera course if you like in bioinformatics. My recommendation is that always start with systems biology, advanced cell biology, just cell biology, so you need to understand pathways. That's how I hire. I basically say, okay, well, name five pathways, draw one. Cannot do that, well, why the hell are you here? Right? So because it's going to be your job for the rest of your life, right? You need to know that. And that's something that they teach in high schools nowadays. When I was high school, I didn't have that knowledge by default. get a Coursera course on maybe medicinal chemistry. Medicinal chemists, in my opinion, are the smartest people on the planet because they understand so many things at the same time. So they understand chemistry, they understand medicine, they understand pharmacology. Most of them, they actually understand AI. So just try to become a medicinal chemist a little bit. But with ChatGPT, now you can do it, right? So you're enabled. Just get Precious 3, critique it. It's a shit model. Improve it, make it better. Use that as an inspiration to build bigger ones. But life models are a thing. You will not go wrong if you develop one.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's fantastic advice. And thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to talk with us.
Well, I'm here for that. Yeah, thanks.
Perfect. Thank you so much.